The Republican Party finds itself currently playing the most dangerous, useless, silly, and time-wasting game of them all, the blame game, looking for scapegoats and fall guys when it comes to the pending nomination of Donald Trump. Already, there are high-ranking Republicans falling in line with the presumptive nominee. But there is also a still-growing side that swears they would rather commit political and professional hara-kiri than put one vote in his pocket, and the Democrats are having a field day with it. What Trump followers cannot escape, no matter how hard they try, is a lifetime of contradictions and insults tossed about for the man who would lead the free world, leaving some to wonder if this will be a figurehead president who worries first about ego and second about policy. It's leading to a disaster no one should avoid talking about, from the pro and the con. To do so is a coward's way out. And in telling it like it is, toddlers being shot to death and killing their parents thanks to flat-out careless gun owners. Your phone calls will be included, of course. Let's see what you got. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hard Line for Thursday, May 5th, 2016.
I'm called out for not beating up the front runner of the GOP. It's ridiculous.
Try to find alternatives. Guess what? We don't have any. And whose fault is that?
If the Republicans in Congress particularly had not blocked every single piece virtually of legislation that Obama put forward, the same Trump base that is now his base would be somewhat better off economically, perhaps less angry, perhaps less in the Trump camp.
Let's be very candid here. The Republicans have some very vulnerable senators, not because of anything to do with the national ticket.
This is the Thelma and Louise moment for the Republican Party. This thing is going down.
There is no greater sign of someone or a group of people being weak, irresponsible, and without an ounce of character than when a person or a group of people, or one person, seeks to waste precious time seeking to assign blame. Like a toddler caught seconds after breaking a priceless piece of furniture, to which the person, the business person, who went outside of their assigned boundaries, the one who's being left holding a bag of overspending or missed chances, to the clown speeding down the interstate while posting to Facebook and then slamming into another vehicle filled with a soccer mom and her kids, touting the lack of proper guardrails or other such nonsense. We are a nation always seeking to blame somebody else for our mistakes, refusing to take responsibility for what we did as integral to the crash occurring, turning cockeyed and cowardly when it comes to accountability. And the Republican Party is at the moment front and center in cowering from their years of inaction, bungling, and blustering, bringing their followers in America to face the power of Donald Trump. It is time to put the blame where it belongs. She is the veteran columnist for the Fiscal Times with more than 2 decades of experience navigating the shark-infested waters of Wall Street, Liz Peek. He is the award-winning journalist and editor-in-chief at the conservative solutions website Opportunity Lives, John Hart. I want to thank you both for joining us. Liz, I'm going to begin with you first. Let's cut through everything here right now and say that the reason why the Republican Party is where it is right now, and they need to own up to it, is the fact that they have spent decades fooling, bamboozling, and basically just blowharding the American public. And also, let's get to the American public in a moment for putting a lot of these people in office time and time again. But let's start with the Republicans, Liz. Don't they have to start taking their share of the responsibility and own up to being where we are right now?
Wow, that's just a really broad question and a broad accusation. I think the Republicans have perhaps let down their voters, it's true, in terms of being sufficiently resistant to the measures taken by President Obama. But Obama has really behaved via executive action and sort of unilaterally out of the White House. And frankly, I put much more of the blame, if you will, for a character like Trump becoming the GOP nominee on 7 years of Americans being really frustrated that the president was not listening to them on Obamacare, not listening to them on immigration, and in fact trying to force down their throats measures that they really opposed, not listening to them on security in terms of the border or in terms of ISIS, and on it goes. I think Obama has raised the temperature of the nation substantially. We see that in poor race relations, anger about things like trade, which has never been a toxic topic before.
I'm going to give you all this, Liz. You're exactly right on everything you're saying with regard to Barack Obama. But let me then go back to 10, 20, 2 decades, maybe 3 decades. The American people said they are sick and tired of being lied to by their elected officials. The Republican Party, the Democrats as well, but we're going to focus on Republicans here. They have not served the people. They haven't done what the people wanted. They continue to fool them over and over again. Shouldn't they take their share of blame instead of trying to blame Barack Obama every 10 seconds?
Well, again, I don't think I agree with you. I think the Republicans over those decades that you're talking about, that includes the term of Ronald Reagan. I think he did do what people wanted at the time. I think George W. Bush, it turned out poorly, but after 9/11, Americans wanted vengeance. They wanted someone to strike back because under Bill Clinton, we'd been attacked 6 or 7 times by Al-Qaeda and done absolutely nothing. So here, I would take a different point of view. If you want to look at a problem for the Republican Party, I would say it has been much too embedded with and involved with the corporate community, and that community in turn has veered off course. I think that's a sort of more narrow focus, maybe.
We'll add that maybe as well. John, let me come to you on this one as well. There's the Republicans themselves that people are angry at, but also the voters themselves. Because one of the things that I am constantly talking about is the fact that we often are an electorate that puts the same people in office over and over and over again. We walk into booths, we punch out the little cards, we throw the check, we don't even think about it sometimes. Instead of blaming everybody else, don't we have to start looking internally for blame? Start there. Fix this problem from the inside.
Well, sure, and I think reflection is actually productive and effective. I don't think it's part of the blame game. And just to pick up quickly on Liz's point, I think look, the Republican Party deserves part of the blame. Barack Obama deserves a lot of it. But what we've been seeing with the rise of Trump the past few months is the expression of probably 2 or 3 decades of pent-up frustration that is primarily economic, that wages have been stagnant. So wages are stagnant as the price of everything else increases. And so that's created a lot of anger, anxiety, frustration. And people look at Washington and think, why are they not solving the practical material problems that people face? And I want to tip my hat to Fred Barnes at the Weekly Standard, did a really good job looking at the Ted Cruz campaign versus Trump. And his conclusion simply was that Trump won, or he's the presumptive nominee now, because he spoke about things people care about in their daily lives. Now, that sounds really simple.
And I guess that's part of the point here, because the American people feel as if the people that they have put in power and the ones who have been there are not speaking about that. We're looking to make this party better and put it back on track, and that's where you got to make one of the starting points.
Yeah, and I think, but in terms of the voters, Ed, I think what is actually, I'm not a Trump fan, I'm a Trump critic, but sure. I think you have to look at what's happened and be thankful that we live in a country and at a time when voters are actually enfranchised. They're not disenfranchised. We've heard over the past few months there's a monolithic establishment conspiring to stop Trump, but actually the rules were not rigged. The rules worked perfectly and allowed a motivated, educated citizenry to nominate the person they wanted. And so I don't like the result, but I think it's a fundamentally good thing that people have the freedom to make the wrong choice. Okay. Because eventually they'll make the right choice.
You are correct.
And we'll have a credible system.
I have a few minutes left. I want to get to several things and get quick answers from the both of you here now that we have covered the big issue here. Let's start with this. House Speaker Paul Ryan was asked, now that we have a presumptive nominee in Donald Trump, will the Speaker endorse and support the candidate? Here's what he said today.
To be perfectly candid with you, Jake, I'm just not ready to do that at this point. I'm not there right now, and I hope to, though, and I want to, but I think what is required is that we unify this party.
You can't support or endorse him right now.
Yeah, I am basically saying that. Look, I thought about this 2 days ago. I thought actually this thing was going to go to June 7 at the very least, probably to a convention.
Liz, you first, quickly. What does that say to you? And he basically comes out and says, I'm not doing it.
Well, if he wants to unify the party, he's going about it in a pretty darn strange way. This is our presumptive nominee, and it seems to me people need to get over, whatever reservations they have and try and work with Trump. And I'm hoping that that's what Ryan means, to approach issues in a way that would make him more acceptable to a broader swath of Republicans. And I say that realizing that Trump's magic, if you will, is that he has brought out millions more Republicans and independents and Democrats than we've seen in an awfully long time. But I'm hoping that Ryan is trying to gain some leverage with the Trump camp to kind of steer him down some paths or bring some people into that camp that would be credible and would increase his appeal. I mean, let's hope that.
John, is Paul Ryan trying to increase his appeal for and boy, here we are again saying those words, contested convention?
No, I don't think there's anything cute or clever about his strategy. I think what he articulated was a statement of principle and concern that we have a nominee. Look, this is an unprecedented situation. I think Ryan believes in his heart of hearts that Trump is not really a Republican, that he's not a conservative, and that troubles him deeply. So he's hopeful. He's leaving the door open to endorse him. But, I don't blame Ryan for having that level of skepticism. We've got, a presumptive nominee who, when you really look at what he's saying, it's more in line with what Hillary Clinton would support in many respects than what Reagan supported.
That's frightening that you would even say that out loud.
Yeah.
That's frightening to a lot of people that you would even say that out loud. And we still have to talk about vice presidents, so many other things. We'll have to leave that for another day. Liz Peek, John Hart, I want to thank you both for being here and both for your very candid comments. We look forward to talking to you again. What we have accounted for here is not now just ours to talk about. It is yours to opine on. We're going to take a break. Head for the phone lines. 1-877-NEWSMAX. 1-877-639-7629. Are you willing to hold not just the Republicans, Democrats, whomever, those in power, and those who vote without doing one stitch of research to learn about the candidates and the issues to the fire for where we are today? We're also going to remind you of something else, too. Coming up next week, we want you to get ready for this. Matter of fact, you can do it right now if you want. Something brand new here at the Hardline. It is called the 15 Seconds of Fame. We're going to give you a chance to get right in our face video-wise and tell us what you think. We're going to tell you about that later. Coming up first, to the calls at 1-877-NEWSMAX. Next.